Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to this event. We're very happy to see you here. We've waited a little bit to make sure that the room was going to be filled, but I think now we can start. Again, very happy to see you here. We're welcoming you for the Suicide Prevention Awareness Panel discussion organized by Solid Mind Counseling Clinic in partnership with the Mastercard Foundation and in partnership with RBC, Mental Health Department, and Kigali Public Library, who's hosting us today. It's our first discussion in its kind. It's a public discussion where we hope we're going to be able to have exchanges of ideas and input from all of you on this important topic that is affecting many people in the world. We know that it's the fourth leading cause of death amongst the youth between 15 and 29, and also here in Rwanda it's an important component of the risk factors for mental health among the youth. And so this event will be live streamed. In partnership with the Mastercard Foundation, we're working with different universities on the continent, 15 universities in Africa, and we are very happy also to welcome the scholars listening to us all over the continent, but also other people here in Rwanda who might be also watching and contributing to the discussion later on. So my name is Freya Zaninga de Klerk. I will be moderating the panel discussion, but before I introduce the panelists, I would like also to share with you the agenda of today. We will be starting with opening remarks by Dr. Jean-Pierre Ndagijimana from Solid Mind, senior clinician, and then it will be followed by an opening performance by the singer Colin. And after that, we will have the panel discussion with our different panelists, followed by a Q&A session with questions and recommendations and input from the public here, but also from the live audience following this live event. But also, if you'd like to send questions on our Twitter account, feel free to do so at Solid Minds RW. This is our Twitter handle. So without further ado, I would like to pass the mic to Dr. JPN.
Thank you so much. The day when we discuss suicide, many times we don't find it easy to connect with what's probably one of the things we fear the most: suicide. One of the things many of us struggle to understand, at least if we never been there. You will hear people say, oh, they killed themselves because of their boyfriend, girlfriend. You could find someone else. That is not your story. The storyteller understands this better. As we start this conversation, I invite you to take 40 seconds to remember a person, someone who lost their lives by suicide. One person. It can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a neighbor, a classmate, someone you heard in the media, a stranger. 40 seconds. And after those 40 seconds, during that time of 40 seconds, it is very probable that during that time frame, someone somewhere in the world just killed themselves. According to the World Health Organization, in 40 seconds, at least one person killed themselves. And when one person killed themselves, at least 20 people attempted to kill themselves. And luckily, whether it is support from someone like you who is listening or watching or is here, you helped. Or in some ways, that person find a reason to understand that the suicide, the feelings of wanting to kill oneself is from a temporal feelings that could heal. When one person killed themselves, at least 20 people attempted killing themselves, and more people had the thoughts of killing themselves. At least 700 people, 1,000 people all over the world kill themselves each year. And youth are at a higher risk because majority of mental health issues start when one is under 14. So when we don't have systems that are there, that are tailored to meet the needs of those who are most vulnerable among us, there is a risk that we may lose their lives of suicide, especially when depression is involved. Depression, some people call it a silent killer. A silent killer. In Rwanda, it is the same. We are seeing big numbers of people killing themselves. Some of you may have read the information or statistics from the Rwanda Investigation Bureau. Talking about the vulnerable communities. Talking about vulnerable communities. Suicide is not gender neutral. No. When you look at the statistics by the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, you will realize that more than 80%, probably 82% of the people who kill themselves by suicide are male, and 18 are female. But when we look also on the numbers international, you see that twice the number of male kill themselves compared to female. Does it mean that it is just male who suffer? No. When you also investigate what happened in the process, you realize that potentially more female attempted to kill themselves. What resources do we have? What are the cultural factors that push us to take away our lives? Amarira y'umugabo atemba ajya mu nda. It does no longer serve us. Men's tears flow inside. No. It's no longer helping us. I've met men who took the courage to come and seek help. Talking about help, statistics from the RBC shows that the resources exist. It also shows that a number, probably more than 60%, if I remember correctly, are aware of where they can seek help. But only 5.3% have sought those services. Resources exist. Resources exist. And there are still barriers to seek those services. Issues such as a stigma. I have seen in our work. When people say, I want help, but I don't want to come to your office. I appreciate the services being provided by different agencies. Examples is the Solid Minds that is co-hosting this space, providing support that are confidential, but we still don't trust it. We think and feel that we are going to be in trouble if someone sees us walking through that window labeled mental health. And again, vulnerable communities. When I don't also not want to say these experiences as just something that is homogeneous, especially in the Rwandan context. The same statistics from the Rwanda National Survey 2018 show that survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi are more vulnerable to the mental health issues. And sometimes when we engage with these experiences and we see someone just kill themselves, we think, but it's been these years, so they shouldn't worry, they shouldn't have a problem. Hey, you don't understand. You don't understand. So here's a need for us to educate ourselves about mental health. The mental health literacy is important. It is a time that we stop avoiding them and pretend that it is not for us, it can't happen to us, and sometimes putting on a mask, a smiling mask, and then sometimes we hear that this person killed themselves. And I want to talk about this one thing. How do we hear about those stories? How do we hear about those stories? I want to talk about media. Media. The World Health Organization talks about responsible reporting of suicide. We are still seeing people, for those people who have been reading stories about suicide, you will hear the word Inkunda Mahoro. Why? Why Inkunda Mahoro? Isn't it that it probably is associated by how we are reporting stories of suicide? Yiyahuriye hariya umuntu witwa kanaka yiyahuye yishizemwo umugozi yasimbutse inyubako yo ku Nkundamahoro yiyishe kubera ko yari afite umukunzi none uwo mukunzi akaba yamwanze. Those ways of framing the stories of suicide bifite ingaruka mu kuba wa wundi wari usanzwe ari mu manegeka yumva umubwiye yuko n'abandi bari mu bihe nk'ibi burya birakwiye ko wiyahura. Those images, there is these concepts of a suicide contagion. Kuki tubona abantu biyahura ugasanga abantu biyahuriye mu gihe gikurikiranye? We see a number of people killing themselves, and in a certain period we hear like repeatedly, here's a story of someone. Is it potentially linked? So one of the things that we want to encourage the public, the media, and family members and friends is how do we contribute to the suicide prevention? The suicide prevention, which is has started in 2003 and has been there to help us, to help the public understand that suicide is preventable. Suicide is preventable. That's the only story that has been the background, the main background of this day celebrated on September 10th of each year. I'm very grateful for this space that has been created by Solid Minds, private clinic located here in Kigali, the partners such as the MasterCard Foundation, the partner as RBC, and you all who are here. This is a space that I invite you, whether you are here physically in person, whether you are following online. I want to tell you one thing. That deep feeling of worthlessness, kumva ntacyo uri cyo, that deep feeling that you have no tomorrow, that feeling of humiliation, that you feel like you're not going to see another day, that the feeling of feeling stuck, of feeling like ubuzima bwawe bwararangiye ndetse urutwa n'uwapfuye. Ibyo bitekerezo, those feelings can be temporary, and the healing and resources for healing exist. I would want to, therefore, on the behalf of Solid Minds and the partners, I would want to invite the audience to follow this conversation, to participate, to ask a question, to contribute, to offer what you have from your heart, from the scars if you've ever been there. And I know that this conversation can be emotionally charged. Therefore, before that conversation starts, I want us to prepare our hearts and minds. And I want to invite an artist, Corinne, to come over and share his gifts as you all prepare to engage with this important conversation. Again, thank you so much for being here, and you are not alone.
Hello everyone. So as I'm being helped to set up, let me be introducing myself. My name is Colin Kazungu, and I am a singer, yes, obviously, you know, and I am a student in university, at the Adventist University of Central Africa. I have finance as a major, and I'm very honored to be here and sharing contributing to the theme of the day through art, which is also a very big platform to help with mental health. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it. of applause for my helper here. You know. All right. So the song I'm singing today is one of my favorite gospel songs. It's a song called "You Are Gonna Be Okay" by Jen Johnson. So I hope you enjoy it. I know it's all you got to just be strong. And it's a fight just to keep it together, together. I know you think that you were too far gone, but hope is never lost. Hope is never lost. Hold on, don't let go. Hold on, don't let go. Just take one step closer, one foot in front of the other. You get through this. Just follow the light in the darkness. One step closer, one foot in front of the other. You get through this. Just follow the light in the darkness. You're gonna be okay. I know your heart is heavy from those nights. Just remember that you are a fighter, a fighter. I never know just what tomorrow holds. You're stronger than you know. You're stronger than you know. Whoa, 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 hold on, don't let go. Whoa, whoa, oh, hold on, don't let go. Just take one step closer, one foot in front of the other. You get through this. Just follow the light in the darkness. One step closer. Follow the light in the darkness. You get through this. Just follow the light in the darkness. You're gonna be okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Colin. Maybe another round of applause for this beautiful song. While they're arranging the stage here, I would like to invite our different panelists to join the panel here. Professor Alice, Mr. Emmanuel, and Mr. Joel. Carrez-vous. So just a few words to present our different panelists who were kind enough to give us their time and also their interest and passion and background to contribute to this discussion. This will be a discussion, so it won't be an interview. So the way it's formatted, we'll ask questions, but they will be contributing as a discussion to this topic. So Joel Tuyikunde is a final year student at the African Leadership University, majoring in global challenges with a concentration in healthcare and mental health. He founded We Mental You project on social media with the aim of raising mental health awareness amongst the youth in Rwanda. And through research-based posts and conversations with mental illness survivors and professionals enthusiasts in the field, We Mental You advocates for mental health. Thank you for joining us. Then we have Professor Alice Urusaro Uwagaga Karekezi. She is a professor and dedicated mother of 3 children. She is a scholarly practitioner with a PhD from the School of Global Studies at the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. And she has nearly 30 years of experience working in post-genocide settings and reconstruction. Professor Alice is currently based at the University of Rwanda Center for Conflict Management, which she co-founded. And her work and research interests include homegrown practices, women, peace and security, gender, and transitional justice and reconciliation. Welcome, Alice. And then we have Mr. Emmanuel Hakomeza, who is joining us from RBC, and whose position at RBC is Interventions to Youth Senior Officer at Mental Health Division. Thank you so much for joining us as well. So the first question that I would like to ask you all, and maybe starting with Joël, and then with Alice, and then Emmanuel, is why is this topic important to you?
Hello everyone. That's a lot of question. Why is this topic important to me? So mental health in specific is important to me because I realize that it's the core of a lot of generational conflicts we have with our parents and among the youth. As I think he introduced, it is a very silent battle we deal with. So I think by being passionate about it, you're giving it a voice, you're letting something have more light for people to know more things about it. And I think also because most of the people today that are committing suicide are kind of my age, the youth, same age gap. So that's how my passion grows each and every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Joël. Professor Alice?
Thank you, Freya. Merci beaucoup. And thank you, Solid Mind, for inviting me this evening to have this conversation on that difficult topic. You mentioned, describing a little bit of the work I've been doing, that I have near 30 years of work in post-genocide reconstruction. I've worked very much with women who have survived gender-based crimes. I was an advocate back in the 90s. I came across this destruction, internal destruction, through that. So my interest in mental health generally. I came with my heart of a lawyer at the time, and I encounter much more than legal work. I realized that legal work was very little compared to that inner destruction that some of those women I've accompanied were dealing with. So that's really my first interest around not only suicide particularly, but the mental health condition. So mostly as a member of this community, I started to read about intergenerational trauma and how most of the things. So when today we realize that suicide is becoming more and more present in our society, we should not be surprised, because when you realize that we're in a society where people have killed those that were living together, side by side, and sometimes in similar conditions, they killed their relatives, their friends, their colleagues, and so on. So it has to backfire. So suicide is here to live. So we have to learn to do that. But also suicide is not something that has happened today. I have those stories of my mother whose auntie committed suicide back into the 40s, you know, by throwing herself to Lake Kivu. Mm. So I have lived in Sweden, as you said, and we know the Volga place, what they call the Volga belt, the vodka belt. And a lot of suicide was going on around with young people. And then it came closer, more and more. As a parent, when I say parent, I am speaking about not only as an individual parent, but a social parent. My daughter has friends, so I've been living, and I realized that it was coming closer every day. Attempt to suicide, aborted suicide, and real suicide. So it's, for me, I haven't thought about that as something I got interested in. It just came it invited itself in my life. So, and I realized how unaware we are of that. And I realized that we can help. We can help, or we can get help. More importantly, by being more literate about suicide. So it imposed itself in my life somehow.
Thank you very much. And what about you, Mr. Emmanuel?
Thank you. As Freya said, my name is Emmanuel Akomeza. I'm working at RBC for almost 7 years, but I've been in clinic as clinical psychologist at Seashika for 5 years, where I worked with people who had mental health conditions, different mental health conditions, including suicide attempts. So why suicide these days? How to go for why mental health? Because when you talk about suicide, in other way, there is mental health. So there is suffering, there is unbearable pain that conduces to suicide attempt. So suicide is public mental health concern. I'll not go back to what Dr. Jean-Pierre have said, because he has clearly explained why suicide. But I'll go for mental health. People with mental health condition, in most cases, they don't know that's a problem. They suffer, they are struggling with daily stressors, life events, which is stressful in these days, but they don't know, is it a real problem? Should I go to consult? Should I go to see a mental professional? Should I go for help? Because sometimes mental health, I would say very often mental health is associated with different myths and beliefs, which in many cases hide the consultation compared to other physical illnesses. So especially for young people, because people will say that go and seek mental health support is a sign of weakness. It's a sign of people don't want to accept that they need to be supported. So this is a great opportunity when you see the increased number of suicide attempts, suicide death-led suicide. It's a good opportunity to just open discussion. In addition, because at RBC, I'm in charge of mental health among children and youth. So I also coordinate school-based mental health program where I see different statistics from different hospitals where there are cases of suicide attempts among adolescents, among children who are at school. So suicide attempt come or take place because people didn't know that they have to consult. They are suffering, they are pain, but they say, it's okay, I will overcome it. Other will say, I should take this and this. But people should know that it's a condition, self-condition. They have to consult, they are suffering. They have to get out and seek help. So on top of that, suicide is closely linked with affective disorders, including depression.
Maybe we'll get back to
Yeah.
that point
Yeah.
later on, but
So-
what is interesting from all of you is you come from different backgrounds. We have a youth representative, we have a mental health professional, we have someone who is a professor but also a parent, and you all are expressing the fact that you're being touched by the mental health issues and specifically suicide, how suicide can affect someone, a loved one, someone close to you, but also something that you or maybe have observed is the difficulty that those people are going through to seek help or even to identify it as something like it's a public health issue. It's like any other disease, something that is affecting us that also needs support and to go over it, to help go through it. You also mentioned myth and beliefs, and I'm going to jump on that. Thank you very much for this. We have different myths and beliefs surrounding suicide, and I'm going to take a few of them, and starting with you, Joël, maybe we talked about how talking about suicide can affect the public, but maybe in another way, there's also a myth that says if you talk to someone who's with a lot of pain about suicide, that it will encourage their suicide attempts. What is your thought about that? For example, in this platform, we are talking about suicide. Do you believe it's something that will push people to commit suicide? What is your thought about it as a youth, and as a parent, and as a professional? Over to you, Joël, starting with you.
Okay, thank you. As the youth, I think talking about suicide sheds the light that it is there, right? So maybe some people think, that's not real. Especially in Rwanda, you know, there's like, yarahaze, you know, well, how can you do such a thing? I think it sheds a light to like, actually, this is real and this is happening. But I think there's something we don't realize is that talking about it is we talk about it in a trendy way, right? Suicide is kind of a trendy way, especially when we say Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. It's like the trend for the month, right? So it's like it's not about talking about it, it's like how are we talking about it, right? If I talk about it in a way of like, oh, this is actually real, this is how to prevent it. If we've all thought about death and life, if I say, if I talk about death and the extreme thoughts I have about death, actually that life would be better if I was dead, you know? If I'm comfortable talking that to my friend and my friend is quick to listen, that I've been thinking about that, they'll know what to recommend me. But if I just mess about, you know, death, you know, sometimes we make jokes over the line. I know there's this trend that is going on TikTok that says, reply as an African parent, I have depression. And they tell you, oh, how will this help you in engineering? Oh, but you have eaten, how is this? But all these are jokes, but in a way, you know what someone is dealing with. So I think even if it's in a trendy way, but you take your time to hear what is the person saying, what is the message they're trying to release out of that. So I think, yes, talking about suicide sheds more light about it, but how we talk about it is how someone perceives it. So if I talk about it in a way of like helping someone, they'll know that they should seek help. If they take it as an escape, they'll take it as a joke as well, that it doesn't exist. So it's how we talk about it, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you so much. He talked about parents. who would say, but how is this going to help you for engineering? So, and I mean, it's futile to talk about those things.
Yes.
What is your point of view?
My point of view is also there's a myth in the myth. It's not African parents. I pride myself to have lived in 28 countries. And it's not, because mental condition, up to now, mental health condition is still in almost all societies, is still something that people do not know how health is contained in the mental health. So it's, we live it here in our context. It's Rwandan parent, African parent, but that's a myth. It's all over the world. Some places, they've been able to do sufficient research and sufficient awareness as the one being done here, and that's also my interest, to demystify somehow mental health as a special condition. We all have a mental health condition. Sometimes it is triggered by certain circumstances or not. Sometimes we have a family background that respond to that. But I will not play the professional here on mental health. I want just to say that, and to give an analogy, and sorry to bring up anecdote. Back in the 90s, I started working on that around 97, about gender-based violence. Just imagine, I think some of you cannot imagine what was it like to be in Rwanda at that time, 3 years after the genocide, and priorities being 1,000 in all sectors, engineering and the rest, reconstructing the body, the house, the bodies were still on the street. So now I come with this very narrow concern about women who have survived gender-based violence. And my work as an advocate was very much to bring the issue to the attention of the tribunal, International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, to make sure that in the work of the tribunal, it will be taken into account. So they were dealing with genocide, crimes against humanity, and I was bringing rape and other forms of sexual violence in that context. And I find the issue of mental health is at that time, they were asking me, Alice, is it really the priority? So I learned from one of my trips in the US about what they call 16 days of activism about gender-based violence. I operated the first one here, and it was like, what is it? And through campaign, advocacy, pushing the agenda all the time, I remember a journalist meeting me and say, oh, are you sexual violence? It became a name because I was on the TV everywhere, all over, to speak about that. So, and then we did a lot of work. The Ministry of Gender took it up, etc. The government of Rwanda. And then we were hearing more and more cases of gender-based violence. So, as today, people start asking themselves, was it because we were speaking about that, or because it was underreported? Yes, we'll hear even more suicide as we raise awareness. It will not be necessarily because we have pushed people to suicide, to commit suicide, but the awareness will make us open our eyes and our ears much more about that issue. Let me stop here for the moment.
Thank you. Thank you for this analogy, and helpful analogy indeed. In your practice at CHK, when you had someone coming, what was your experience? What is your experience as a professional? Is talking or asking about suicidal thought going to push the person to commit suicide?
Thank you for the good question. uh, people will say that even healthcare providers will hesitate to ask question about suicide, saying that probably thinking that if they ask someone, have you ever had suicidal thought, have you ever tried to commit suicide, they will end up doing that, committing. But it is not the case. On the contrary, when you ask someone if she or has any suicidal thought, you open, you help him or her just to talk about it. Because suicide, those who have suicidal thought, they're experiencing a kind of ambivalent feelings. Should I commit it? Should I not? How can, and when you open such conversation, when you dare to speak about it, you help him or her to tell you, to express his feeling, his unbearable pain. So during my work at Seashika, depending on the condition, especially those who have depression, who have kind of warning signs related to suicide, I always ask it about suicide, and I didn't see someone who committed suicide because I've asked her or him. Rather, it helped. I helped them and accompany her and provide care for them. So people should not have a fear to talk about it. Suicide, rather, they should encourage, they should go and ask if someone is showing something is not going away. We should ask, not in the health facilities, not as health professional, but as the individual, as a single person in the community, in the family, at the school, wherever. We should ask someone, how do you feel? Have you ever have any kind of suicide thought? Because you will be surprised, and it will help you to help her or him to get real support. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it comes back to also what Joel was saying, not being afraid of talking it, not in a trendy way, but really in a real way, to not being afraid of asking how another person is really feeling, to help them go through what they're going through. The next question in terms of beliefs and myth, we often hear that people who threaten suicide are just seeking attention. And here I'm going to ask the parent first. What do you think?
Well, you can call it seeking attention, but it's crying for help. I think they cry for help. Not later than yesterday, I was discussing with friends about that day, and she just informed me that a young lady went on the Twitter space and announced that she was ending her life, and left that very sad letter to her mom, saying that she was saying, "Amerikirananiye, I can't cope with the US anymore." She's studying there, and then she went on, and luckily, she has been rescued, because people read that and went. They found that she has tried to absorb a lot of drugs, and luckily she's now being attended to. But that was yesterday. There have been such, I think Joel would tell us about. So our challenge is really to try to see, most of the time when, as parents, we are dealing with young adults, in becoming adults, we tend to reproduce our upbringing. And it's difficult for us to understand that while the same culture, the same languages, and so on, our upbringing, some aspect of it might work or not with our. So our challenge really is to see, is it that process of teenaging, or is it much more? There's a confounding factor there, and sometimes it's very confusing. But whatever it is, even when we believe they are seeking attention, I think most people are seeking for help. So, yeah, I would call it that way.
Thank you. Thank you. And here you're touching about, on an important point, how can you recognize the signs of seeking for help, or you're talking about youth growing up, or becoming an adult? There are different signs. You might think, okay, it's just them growing up, or they're searching themselves.
Yeah.
How can you recognize the signs? Maybe let me ask Emmanuel, what are the signs that we can see in people struggling? And
Thank you. Knowing or trying to check for warning sign, you have to understand the normal way of the person you are talking with or you are looking with. Because it requests a kind of observation, active observation, like withdraw from the environment, the friend, the school, the workplace, someone who is suffering and who is at risk of suicide or any kind of mental health problems, will withdraw from the interest activities. In addition to that, there will, some people or many will show behavior of self-harm. Self-harm.
what kind?
What kind? Like not eating. Just many will cut themselves, but people will say that it's a kind of like chantage. I don't know how.
Blackmailing.
Yeah. But you see they are intent to deprive themselves the thing that they all enjoyed before they get suffering. Again, in terms of suicide, because to what we are talking about, people will try to look on to say the word like, I'm hopeless, I don't want to live, I don't see anyone who can help me, it's better that I die. A kind of suicide ideation, but because we don't know when we say that, why are you saying about that? And with social media, with technology, many will also go for looking on what kind of mean that I can use. And when you go for when you are chatting with him or her, you will see the message that the unclear message full of suffering, full of pain, and those are clear message. But also we have like, sleeping problem related to sleep, academic, drop school performance, if they are children who are at school, or for those who are adult, you will see their activity will be negatively affected. And if it's someone who like to dress well, to smile, and to interact with people, they will not. So those are some of warning signs. There are many, but those are really some. And I cannot forget the behavior related to alcohol and alcohol misuse and drug abuse, especially for teenagers and others. You will see they tend to use much compared to what they used to take. So in that case, we need to pay attention and to try to take action related to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Joël, we talk about the signs. We talk about also the difficulties of recognizing the signs. As a youth representative, active in the youth community, is this something that you can recognize? Is something that can easily be seen? And then what happens? Because there's also the myth of saying most suicides happen suddenly, but from what is being said, there's kind of a process of decline. So, but is it easily identified even among the youth? Over to you.
I think one thing as the youth we can agree with, when someone dies, most of the times we're like, Nuriase, how did this person, but we were together last night, but we were partying last night, what happened, but we were talking last night. So I think one thing about the youth today, we can pretend. We can pretend badly. You can talk to someone, because I think someone who is actually dealing with those things, they like to listen to you more than them talking about themselves. So they'll show up for you and you won't realize. But most of the time, something I've realized is if someone dies, we'll start linking the dots and be like, oh, that's why this person was always up late at night. Oh, that's why he was always wearing long things, hiding the scars they had here. Oh, that's why he never talked about the parents. Those things that never. So I think, yes, we can Google all the symptoms that we can find them. But unless you intentionally ask someone, you can really never find out. Unless you intentionally ask someone, oh, but why have you been sleeping late? They'll try maybe to say a lie at first, but like, the next day, like, but why? Like, what is it? Like, intentionally asking, not to shame, but like, to make someone feel, being a safe space for someone, creating hope through action, which is the theme, creating hope for someone. We can list all the symptoms, you can notice some things, mostly you can, or even intentionally seeing what someone is doing and just questioning some things. I know we are low-key a generation that doesn't like being questioned a lot. We want, my life, my choice, why are you asking me these questions? But when you question out of care, when you question, at least someone will see that you care. And it's better to question than to realize later. It's better to even let a parent know if that is going way too far. I'm noticing this thing on my friend, than to hear that they have passed away. So yeah, that is what I think.
Thank you so much. And I love what you're saying about intentionally asking someone and making a safe space, not to shame. And if need be, also to share the risk with even the parents who they might be afraid of sharing this to. Then let me come to you with the last myth and belief when they say sometimes that people who die by suicide are selfish and take the easy way out. Is this also something that you hear in the community?
Yes, we hear that a lot. But I once heard a controversy of someone saying that actually suicide is the most brave thing of self-love, because you love yourself so much that you don't want to feel the pain anymore. It's your easy way out that you want to go. And I think, no. I think to an extent, I don't know, both sides. It might be self-love, but all we know it's not right? But to an extent, it might be self-love. You don't want to maybe feel the pain again, but telling also someone, would you rather feel the pain and show up for others while you're feeling the pain? It would be hard. So no, I don't think it is selfish. No, I don't think it is self-love. I just think it is your easy way out. You just don't want to deal with your problems. Yeah.
Let me challenge you on that. Because the easy way out, when we think about all the steps that you need to be, to do to really end. I'm wondering if it might seem like the easy way out because maybe from the outside, but you could have come to me, you could have told me. But I think the person who's going through it is almost like it's the only way out that they see,
That it's the only way out, not easy, because we know even it's pain, suicide, so it's the only way out for someone who is just in a dark room. It's the only way out. Definitely not easy. Thank you for correcting that.
Thank you, Joël. Before moving on to a last question, I wanted to know if maybe you wanted to react or to what Joël was saying, so brilliantly about the importance of being intentionally there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can't agree more. Well, let me put it that way. There are general things, and I think Mr. Emmanuel has spoken very much about that. There are self-harm indicators that you can see with somebody losing interest on its physical appearance. Sometimes they call it change of style, so you can be confused. There are things like self-destruction, engaging in activities. Sometimes we think that when people take either alcohol or drug, they don't know that is harmful. They know, but they decide to take that. So that's knowledge plus harm is an indication, I believe, and everything is said about the general aspects that can be like a warning sign. Oh, look at that. But again, as Joël said it's so context specific. Sometimes it's genuinely change of style, trying to, particularly with adolescents, I find that challenging because in French they say le moi s'oppose en s'opposant. We become by opposing what your parents are. You try to cut the umbilical cord. You try to look different. You want to tint your hair in pink. Yeah, so those things happen. So sometimes genuinely, and when I try to look back, even when I was growing, I have been in that phase where I wanted to be the different thing my mother is. So it's not necessarily. So you have really to be intentional to look at it. One of the tricks I use with my daughter and our friends, sitting with them and they say, we are going to play a truth game. So which of us has ever thought of suicide once? So I started to look back and I start to look about other people than the ones, and to my surprise, some of them have attempted suicide, some have gone 1 quarter, 2 quarter, 3 quarter, or even those friends. As again Joël said, you say, but that, there's a young man who passed away last year, a very nice young man so I didn't even know it was my daughter's friends. But I know the parents. So I was saying, there's this sad thing. As I was speaking about with him last night, he was advising me. He was, because I was taking her to school. I said, Mama, I lost somebody. He was my friend. I didn't even know they knew each other, And he was like a big brother to him. So I start asking my daughter's friend. I said, yeah, it was like a big brother to your daughter. You see, that's how close it can come. And the parents were devastated because nothing, that was that nice, he had no sign of self-harm. So really, because we know that it exists, we have to be deliberate and really try to look at it, which is the most difficult for parents. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to come to close to an end of this discussion, but I would like to finish with two questions. One would be, from your perspective, what is the most helpful? We touched upon it, but what would be the best way to help someone going through suicidal ideation, thinking about suicide, from your perspective? And then also, the second question would be, what would be the best support you would need to help a person like that? You as a youth, you as a professional, you as a parent, what would you need to feel like empowered to help someone who's going through this difficult time? Anyone want to start? Yes.
Okay. What would be the best way? I think I've realized that as the youth, when you hear, I think we always hear something, representation matters. When you hear someone that has gone through something that you have went with and they've come away from it, you feel, oh, this can happen to me as well. You were there, you were hiding, but oh, I can actually become better as well. But in the context of Rwanda, I think when we talk about representation, what I realize is that we all talk from a point of privilege. I have social media, I have transport to come here and have such conversations. I went to school, I have friends maybe that send me things that I know. I have research, I have all those things. But who is that person who is mental ill? They don't know who has a mental illness, they don't know what it is, they have no idea what that is. How do you reach them? Which means representation, we should go into all those areas, represent in all areas that we can. From the child perspective, from the parent perspective, a child representing a child, a parent representing a parent, a youth representing a youth, a male representing a male, a female representing a female. These days, it can even be the other way. You can find a parent inspiring a child, but still a parent can empower another parent. All that can happen. So I think having such conversations, but everywhere, so it can reach everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So to have representation in all areas, that is so important, because indeed your voice is your unique voice, and it will be different from a different perspective from your voice and your voice. Thank you so much. Alice.
Yes. If we are serious about the idea that mental health generally and issues like suicide and other conditions are an issue of public health, then we have to localize it sufficiently. I was thinking about one way, that generally, trying to mobilize a mechanism like umugoroba w'ababyeyi. That's at the level of the village in communities, to approach them and to have an institution like Solid Mind, if you want to do outreach, to try to train people the way they train health providers who have been very helpful during COVID time, for example, to do that, to have the local governance having somebody while they speak about umugoroba w'ababyeyi, because the symptoms that can lead to suicide are most of the time there: drunkenness, drug abuse, sadness, etc. So I think that's at one level. I think it's cumulative. We should not think about that. The other way, really, I think, like you do today, take the month, not the day, of suicide prevention. And the advocate in me would say, do advocacy, be activists of mental health. And today the 16 days of activism has been integrated by the government. They operate it every year without even the civil society doing it. So activism would be needed to really expand the idea of health and integrate more meaningfully mental health generally. Now, there's an experience. Look at the school. I think Mr. Emmanuel spoke about school-based mental health. There's a good experience that I've seen in Green Hills. I think Celeste know that. They have this peer counseling. So the counselor there, the social worker, that I think Jessica you know very well, she has trained students to support the fellow students. Yes, so, and Joel maybe would agree with me, this, because the myth, we are not the only one to have myth, the youngsters have theirs, that we can't understand them. And my daughter will often say, Mama, you can't understand. I say, yeah, I know I'm stupid, but try, you know. Try to tell me, maybe eventually I will understand. But when it is peer to peer, they believe they can be understood. So by training also, I'm giving you a vast program as a Solid Mind, but
Taking notes.
I'm speaking also with RBC here. So I found that level, and also I encourage those who understand, because when I start becoming, even when it starts becoming too close for me, I start speaking to parents, because I could put myself easily in the shoes, you know. It can't be with my daughter or my son, my angel. They can't have that kind of problem. It means I haven't done my job and so on. So the level of support differ. Sometimes I realize certain people need really to be comforted and to be empowered slightly. But we have to recognize when they need professional help, you see? So, and that's, I believe, is one of the most difficult, because the stigma, because of the stigma. Oh, you know, when I spoke the first time to my daughter about therapy, she said, do you mean I'm mad? You know? So I said, no, that thing exists, and I wish my parent could have provided me that. And I say, you know, if you think about that and so on, so sometimes they need to impact all the anger, all the worries, mostly worries, the doubts about themselves. So at that level, they need, some need them much longer than others, so it really depends. But I think the level of support, perhaps to summarize, are different, and it should be widespread, from local to national, or horizontal. And also, I think Solid Minds might think to organize parenting workshops for parents who feel really disarmed vis-a-vis of that, to learn more. How do I start to wonder? So parenting workshops, not only for mental health, but generally for supporting your child at school, sometimes it's mixed, are very needed. Again, because the way I was brought up and the way my daughter, it's similar but different in very important respects sometimes. So I tell her, I say, I think I have ADHD too, but that's how I coped with it. So we make it a laughable topic. I say, I think your dad has too, your uncle has, but this is how I deal with that. But also naturalizing that in the discourse, but it takes a lot of effort, I have to confess. It's a journey. Now, institutions like yours, RBC, if, again, we take seriously the idea that it is an issue of public health, then we have to act accordingly.
Thank you very much. And it's well noted. I think we took a lot of notes. Just for those who are watching us from abroad who might not know what Umugorowa Abyeyi is, it's a monthly every evening organized at the community level, where parents and families are invited to join and discuss on specific issue. And usually it's on a specific topic, but what Alice is offering is that we also include the aspect of mental health and suicide prevention, awareness among those topics. And I also note the peer-to-peer effort, because I feel like you also describe it something similar, but for parents, almost something that you're also doing from parent to parent. It's easier to talk about those kind of things, and it's easier to accept or to hear what is happening. So it's also noted. In terms of the activism, I think more and more organizations today are trying to do that activism. The different organizations in Rwanda, also in collaboration and support with RBC. Solid Minds is also doing 4 weeks of content. You can follow us on Twitter. And every Wednesday at 3 p.m. we have a counselor who's there on Twitter to answer questions that you might have on suicide prevention and awareness. I'm plugging here the Solid Minds SPM22 hashtag for this occasion. Thank you so much for this, and I think it's linking well with the intervention about the importance of being represented in all areas. Thank you very much. So over to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you. All have been well described by my co-panelists, but I have to add 2 or 3 points. One, as public mental health officer, the intervention on the suicide prevention and management should be based on public health, because we need to educate people, we need to educate community how to deal with suicide, how to prevent it through teaching them or giving them information on the warning signs of suicide. And that should facilitate, should encourage the early detection and the early intervention. Because when you know what are the warning signs, and you will be able to ask for help, either for you, either for your colleague or your friend who is suffering. So we need also to teach them how to ask. People need to not to have fear to ask the question led to suicide thought. If you want to help people, we need to dare to ask. If you see someone going through different scenario, painful emotion, we need to ask, as Abanyarwanda bakunda kuvuga ngo mwaramutse mwiriwe, you see, but we need to go deeper. Ask not only how are you going, we need to have you ever have thought on suicide, and if yes, have you ever tried to commit it? Because there is suicide ideation, but also the suicide plan. Either it's ideation, the intervention you will pose, you will take will be different. Intervention, ideation compared to plan is emergency, total emergency. You need to take someone to health facility, call health facility for intervention. You need to do close follow-up. You need to remove like means of killing. You need to take like direct and immediate intervention. But if it's suicide ideation, you need to stay with him, her, to talk about it, to discuss, and to propose. Because suicide ideation, if not listen and help, may end up for suicide plan and suicide committed. So on the aspect of public health, like this one, we are educating the community. But on the clinical settings, also we need to be ready to help those people who come to seek help, to help and to investigate those people who don't speak about it, who don't tell about it. Because studies show that many people who commit suicide have already consulted their facility, either GP, general practitioners, they pass through or OPD outpatient department due to physical symptoms, due to pain, to sleep problems, to headache and whatever. But GP failed to ask about suicide thought. And again, even the mental health facilities, you may miss it. Like you treat, because maybe suicide is linked with, in most cases, with other mental disorders. And we treat them, we give them drugs, psychotropic drugs, just treating depression or other psychosis, whatever. And when while they are getting recovered, they are ready to commit suicide by using over drugs and whatever. So we need clearly to teach them how to clinically investigate it and plan, care plan, and do close follow-up. Because when you support, you treat someone who have suicide attempts, it's different from other diseases. You need to do like close follow-up, talk to someone who is living with him, just to like shortening the session one to the second one. Just so the government have started many efforts, but for me, like panelist, I will do. But the third point is for media. Media, we need also to work with media on how they document stories related to suicide, because there's aspect of imitation and quotation in suicide phenomenon. So we need to educate them, to work with them on how they document it, in order to reduce like kind of fanatism, a kind of stigma and contagion. Just say like, because as you have said on the meet and brief, people should know that suicide is a real mental problem that need to be treated. So we need to work with also media. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and also linking it with the first opening remarks from Dr. GPN, that suicide is preventable. It is preventable, and there are different ways that we can also make sure, if someone has gone to the general practitioner, make sure that we also ask those difficult questions. It doesn't push someone to commit suicide. It's making sure that these open spaces are available, and also in terms of the fact that you can't do it alone. We are working with different institutions when it happens to provide that important support. And also I think what I take out also from working with the media is making sure that there's not a message of hopelessness and stigma that is attached, that might be felt by those with suicide ideation, and maybe be that thing that pushes them to commit as well. So to make sure that we have hope through action, and linking it to also this year's theme of suicide prevention and awareness. I would like to thank you very much for all your insightful comments, interventions, and also coming from your experience. It was not something from the books, it's really something that came from your heart, and I think I found it really interesting. I would like now, we don't have much time, but we still have some time for questions from the public. But so I would like to open it to the public here in the audience, but also to people online. You can ask questions on Twitter. We have someone, our colleague here, who will be able to take some questions. We'll start with 3 questions from the public and 3 questions online, but I will also have 2 questions for you if you feel comfortable answering them. My question for you was, how do you feel? How comfortable are you in talking about suicide? It's something that came up often, but are you comfortable talking about suicide? And then the second point is, how easy is it for you to seek help when you have mental health issues? So thank you. Over to you. Sandrine over there has a mic and is able to come. So I see a person here, another there, and maybe a third one.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Solid Minds, and partners for the space, and panelists for the insights. A lot of the times when you talk about suicide, it's linked.
Sorry, can we have a name, just a name?
Sorry, my name is Tepiso. Yeah, when you talk about suicide, it's linked to conditions like depression, post-trauma. What of happiness? Do you, as mental health practitioners, could happiness ever be a driver for suicidal thoughts? Where when you ask, for example, a loved one who's attempted suicide, why they attempted, and they tell you, it can only go downhill from here. I'm content with where I am in life, and I feel like I'm happy. I just want to stop now here. And how do you support someone in that state of mind against suicide when the reason for the attempt is they're happy, quote unquote? Thanks.
Thank you so much for this question. There was another question there.
Thank you. My name is John. My question is a bit loaded. I don't know if I'll be able to say all of it. Okay, I've lived with mental illness for this is the 11th year, and I've seen, okay, these last few years, social media is becoming like, not only to us youth, but even to parents, a constant, like it's an ever-present thing you use. And I have realized the past, before, because it was 2011, I was already on Facebook, but it wasn't much of a habit. It didn't become a habit, but I went into relapses. But I've realized, even though my parents could say back then it was worse, but to me, my recent relapses, I could say they were most intense. And there's a way I could map it up to social media and all that. But my question is, we all talk about suicide in terms of the onset of it. Okay, the first cases, most of what we have talked, I know you deal with many other cases, but I want to talk about the people who live with mental illnesses for years. And okay, I have friends, we meet in hospitals, okay, it's a club of sort. When you become a when you live with a mental illness, many times you might not even know what caused it, but it's, okay, as you had said, like Professor here said, it came to her through her experience, how he said. For me, I could say, and many other people, it came to us. But I would like to say, as professionals, or how do you address the issue of people who have probably lived with it? Let's say we always thought, okay, my parents tell me accept it, it's an illness like any other. But sometimes I'm like, I always have things I hope for, I plan for in the future. Like I say, I'm holding on to this, even though I know I really want this to go. But I know when I reach a certain point, this will go. But then when I reach there, I go downhill again, because I'm like, I looked up to this is what drove me. And I had my first attempt, which was intense, but when it ended, I was like, I know suicide is not possible. Okay, to me, because of how I tried it, and it didn't happen. But that has given me, okay, it was more like an open door. I had someone who said, I'm sorry for this example, he was, okay, I think he was a murderer. So he was addressing, after he was caught after years of being an assassin. This is a true story in Kenya. He said the first time he killed, and then he was caught, and he wasn't caught, there was a certain kind of numbing that happened to his heart. The day I attempted, and I was saved and I was hospitalized and it ended. Even though I changed and my parents saw that things were different, there was a sort of numbing that came to me. So even when I hear stories of people who are tempted, over the years, I'm an ardent reader. I read a lot, and there's a point I have consumed things about, let's say, suicide and how it should be done. So there's a point where I would hear a story of suicide when it depends on the level I'm in. I would say, wow, it's more of a success, I think. Sometimes this is a minor, okay, that person succeeded because I would have seen how I tried or other people tried and it didn't happen. Then with my friends, and let's say this is a club, we talk and it comes at some point to think like, man, he's that guy, wow, he's a hero. I'm sorry for saying this, but there's a point to think in terms of like, they succeeded. But then when you change, it comes to a point where you feel like, what if this kind of hope that I'm holding on to, how do people like in your professions, how do you deal with those who have lived with mental illness? I see people who have a 48, 50, they say they finish their degrees, but they keep coming back, to the point where they live in apathy. So apathy is good. So I'm saying like, when you live with mental illness, how do you prevent, what are the measures you put so that the people who live with these kind of things, that with all this knowledge, one day I would not just like burst up and go, or anybody else for that matter. And then there's another question I wanted to ask also, with the issue of social media, how much it affects and how much it has. How do you address these issues, especially when we see it's something that accelerates, like nobody actually knows how much this is going to end or where we are going. Like we reached here, everybody, nothing started here and everyone was on the phone. We can clearly see this is not a decision someone makes, it has become a habit. How do we deal with such kind of things, especially how do you address it, especially for the future of mental health? And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Could you remind me your name?
My name is John.
John, thank you very much for your question and intervention. We have one more question left here, and from the audience. If none, then did I see? Yes, please, Dr. Julien.
We have, from reports, we have these things of help seeking. Resources exist. We have counselors, we have the mental health systems, and yet, as I said earlier, the number of people who seek support is very, very low compared to the people who know that the resources exist and that they know where they could find those resources. And many times we're saying, hey, this destigmatization, raising awareness. So in a way that we are saying, hey, the people, the audience here, the public, there is something you need to change and come and seek help. That is the mindset we have, the thinking. And the question I have, do you also think on our end, the professionals, the way we provide mental health care, the systems, how they work, the resources we provide, how we approach the clients, the people, are there things we need to change also so that the people can feel more comfortable coming to us? What are some of those barriers that the people face? What's preventing them? What could we change also from our end so that we're not just saying to the people, change your mind, change your mindset. I'm raising your awareness. I'm educating you so that you can, yes, all of those are good. And I'm just curious to know, is there also something on our end, the mental health professionals, is there something we can improve? Yeah, thank you. That was the question.
Thank you very much. I think this question, I'll ask it to you as well. as part of our team later on. But thank you very much for this important question. Sandrine, do we have 3 other questions from social media?
Yes, we do.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the first question is, why is that people, why is that those we expect to be fine in almost all aspects possible are the ones who end up committing suicide?
Do you have a name? Or can we say a name? Someone or whatever?
Not yet, but I can find that out. The second one is, how would you advise someone who may be going through high-level depression caused by who he is or who she is?
Come again?
How would you advise someone
Yes.
who may be going through high-level depression caused by who he is or who she is?
Okay, thank you. And the third one?
The third one is, at what stage do you intentionally ask someone about suicide without making them feel offended, especially when many of the young people enjoy staying in their own lane?
Okay, thank you very much.
So we have 2 comments as well, not
Yes.
questions,
Mhm.
that I would like to read out as well.
Mhm.
People fear being judged and excommunicated or labeled with what's actually depressing them. I think we need to continue teaching our people about the dangers of their words and assumption about people. The second one is, ever heard of a phrase that goes, be a man? That's also one of those reasons why people don't talk about it, because they're expected to be men. So the questions came from someone called Sidasi Ruweza.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for all the comments and questions. I think I'm going to give the floor to you, but also I know we have mental health professionals in the public that can also support in your answers. I know most of the questions were maybe directly addressed to mental health professionals, but I also want to give you, Alice and Joël, the time to comment or provide input on some of them that you feel were relevant to you. Before giving the floor to Emmanuel.
Yes, I think one that spoke to me was what he asked. He said people are constantly raising awareness and people know about it now. I think that's why I said it's a low-key trend, somehow a trend. We're past the stage of something, knowing mental health exists. Now it's people going to seek help. And I once talked to an expert asking them for a consultation academically, and they were not from Rwanda. They were international. I think they're American, but they've settled here to practice in Rwanda. And they told me that they've realized that they get a lot of consultations and they are overwhelmed sometimes because they don't want to seek Rwandan psychologists. They fear seeking them because the stigma around Rwandans, oh, you'll tell my neighbor, you tell this. But also her, as a psychologist, has also realized, I was shocked when I got in Rwanda because I realized that experts here don't actually also seek help. So how are we all telling people to seek help, but none of us is seeking help? Right? I think even the people that hold the power, that are raising behind the campaigns, that have the purpose, have not yet sought help, right? They don't know, maybe they know how things go about. And I also, for my platform, Women Tell You, sometimes when I'm raising awareness and I post, oh, you can get help from this, I was privileged that at my school, we have free consulations that I can go to, but people tell me, oh, these places you're posting, I would not recommend. I went there and the things they told me, no, they were shaming me, they were gaslighting me, you know? So I think what we can do is start from ourselves, us that are raising awareness. That's the first thing that I would recommend. People that are raising awareness to actually go out and seek help. Then they'll know how the services are, and then we'll know how to change. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe to continue on that first question, Alice and Emmanuel, what do you think? That question that Dr. GPM asked, yes.
Well, I wonder if beyond awareness and moving from awareness to really information, because I think, as Joel is rightly saying, awareness is coming up. I remember some activities here at KPL that put that issue on the Twitter space sometimes back. But again, the question here for me, there are two questions: the question of access and the question of understanding. I was unlucky, one of my house helper turned out to have problems. And I was surprised, again, how much it was considered, and I was asking around, they say, ni miryango, bivuye mu miryango. It comes from the family. Ni karande, you know. So there are strong beliefs that not only for mental health, but for health generally, still are there. That to what extent something is given, is inherited, or it's part of something we cannot touch, put a hand on, that's strongly believed. So I was telling to the company that has recommended that particular girl, I say, you know, why are you taking her to Karongi? We should keep her here and look for help. He said, that's not my responsibility, it's her family. I asked around the family members, say, nibye miryango. So information, so from awareness to information, really to try to unpack, what is it? What is a condition? Is it something that can be attended to? And in which ways? What would it seek? Of course, then it becomes very complicated because it depends, it's a case by case. Now, but there's also the question of access. It's still here luxury. If you compare the purchasing power and people consider it is a luxury, until of course they understand the cost of the health anyway. If it is physical health, most of the time, families can put together a GoFund, and then, but when it comes to that, they still ensure. So the question of access, we should not also shy away from it. I'm speaking to RBC. So to what extent can be a first level, second level help at the, if we say we bring that to local governance, it means also to Centre de Santé, we are doing something about that. Mm-hmm. So basically, I think continue. Huh? It's good that an institution like yours is taking up also that aspect of public outreach. Now, the question of confidentiality is there. I was very happy, I think I spoke to Jessica some time back. A young lady who was in decision making has decided to provide help to her co-workers. So these are encouraging. She posted that in a group I was in and say, you know, who can help? So I start. So although we still, we navigate painfully in those waters, but there are also signs that people are realizing. The most difficult thing I find, it's not even on the part of you professionals or the surroundings. It's to convince the person that she or he has a condition that requests professional help. And that's not the monopoly of youngsters. I see, to the point that my husband, as I say, are you becoming a psychologist? Because I detect that more and more around, around us. So, and it's painful to see that you cannot help somebody who presents signs because the person cannot accept to seek for help, even if that person can have access to professionals. So that should not lead us to think that it's insurmountable. In French, they say, parler, parler, il en restera toujours quelque chose. Speak, speak. Something will come up, and something is coming up. Something is coming up. At one point, and I will end to that, I'm not trying to monopolize here the thing, but I start going back and try to see how different people have been coping about different challenges that can affect their mental condition. I realized that partly, my current assumption is that when I was growing up, I'm sorry, I'm that old, so I'm at that point where I speak about my young age. But let's face it, I realized that because, of course, realizing that around me, in my family, pushed me to interrogate myself. When I was that age, what did I feel? How did I deal with that, or other people around me? I realized perhaps something that I feel missing, and this is what I call my working hypothesis. There was something like kuganira. Although I'm a child of two refugees, my parents were refugees in Congo, in DRC, but although they have gone really through hardship, and my home has looked like a mini UNHCR at some point, there was a lot of intergenerational conversations, passive or active. And sometimes it's provided, to cut the long story short, I found that some of my worries, some of my interrogations that I would find maybe today without solution were projected in conversations where I find answers to my own worries. So, as a citizen and as a member of community, I try to replicate those kuganira, intergenerational. So I become the auntie of many people. My daughter used to say, les fêtes de maman à l'occasion de rien. And then my mother organized parties without reason, So it's not party, I just cook food, I get people around, we discuss, I get my husband to discuss, and I find that there's a lot to tell, there's a lot to learn from those younger people we meet, and there's a lot to share with these young people. So I wonder, individualism might, and I'm saying that with cautious because I didn't do any research, to what extent the feeling of loneliness gets deeper by the lifestyle we are adopting today. So I leave it to you specialists, and I'll rest my case.
Thank you very much. I'm inspired to also provide an answer to the question you raised also. I remember the late Dr. Nason Munyandamutsa, who was such an exceptional person, a human being, but also therapist. And I think he was a Rwandan, but everybody wanted to go to see him, because I think, at least this is my personal experience, was that he wouldn't see you under the label of a condition. He would see you as a person. and even that condition would always be within the Kuganira thing. It will be linked with a history. I remember there was one time where we were presenting a case, a quite simple case, of a child who was almost old, but who was still had aneurysm. So she was peeing in her bed, and for us, or for me at least, I was thinking about that label, and I was thinking about, okay, the consequences, etc. But then he came up, and he would always do that. He would always find a way to translate the thing and make it human. And he was saying, but that person, that child, she's crying. This is her way of crying through bedwetting. And then we were able to see the child, in such a different way. It was no longer about behaviors, it was about the child is going through something difficult. Can you hear the child cry? And it was not about the label, it was about what it meant. And when you're welcomed by somebody like that, and you feel like, okay, he's seeing my humanity, he's seeing who I am, he's not seeing the label, he's seeing who I am and my history, and he's able to link it with other things. I feel like he was such a good example of the best care you could ever get when you're facing something difficult. That was, and he was from here. Yes, so over to you, Emmanuel.
Thank you. I'm afraid there are a couple of questions that I didn't catch well, but let me start with the question from Dr. Jean-Pierre, where he asked, should we improve something on the aspect, on the part of clinician, because the statistics show that there's a high number of people who are aware of existing services, but a few are the one who come for consultation. I think the survey took place in 2018. Now it's 4 years later. But some action have been taken to increase, just to work on the few number, on the issue of service utilization, just to increase it, including appointing mental health at the in the health centers. Because first of all, there is kind of gap, issue of transport facilitation between district hospitals. Someone who will travel to 30 kilometers to go to district hospitals for mental health services, it's not easy. Again, by the centralization and integration of mental health in the health centers, maybe for the next survey, the number will increase. Why I'm optimistic is that, for instance, last week I was in Rusizi for mental health activities, mentorship and supervision. The health centers that I visited who have mental health officers, I have noticed the increased number of people who come at the health centers. I'll give you an example. Where I visited one health center, I asked the mental health officer, how many people are you receiving now compared to those who came before you? One health center now is receiving 80 people, while before he was appointed, the center reported 15 people. The other one is receiving 100 people, while the number they used to receive was 20.
So why the change?
The change is when they go there, when they were recruited, they started to conduct outreach activities within the catchment area of health center, just to make people know that the service exists, the service is there, the mental health is there, and they can come. So with the effort they have used, the people are getting aware that the services are near and exist. So the other point, which we need to keep working on it, is to make slight difference with having information and changing behavior. Because you may have information that service exists, but we need to change the behavior of from consulting, from going to practitioners, like Professor said that it's Kalandi, it's family issue, to go to health facilities. Because from long ago, mental health problems were seen as uburozi, as abapfumu. You see, they are rooted in the cultural. So to change cultural aspect, we need to keep talking about it, keep teaching them like we are doing it, and hopefully the number will increase. But again, for the rest, I would go also for the clinician. We need to improve the way we treat, like the Retana son said. We need to keep asking ourselves, do we support, do we provide the care that is needed to the people? Because when we treat someone, do we be your ambassador?
And are we seeking ourselves help when we need it?
Yeah. So that's the comment, but with Nancy, maybe she will comment, you add comment. But also, the second question is high level of depression. Someone who has asked that she or he has high level of depression because of who he is, or who she is. I think when we say high level of depression, it means major depression. If I understood well, depression is a mental illness. So if you have an illness, we need to consult. Otherwise, it will become more severe and severe. So he need to see a mental health professional just to help him work on it. Why? I'm depressed because of who am I? So we need to work on who we are in order to work on depression. So what I can say is that I will recommend him to go to seek mental health services. So unfortunately, I didn't catch the question of John.
Let me remind them. So there was a question from Tebiso. Can happiness be a driver for suicide? And also, how would you support someone like that? And then the question from John, who says, as a person with mental health issues for many, many years, how do we address, if I paraphrase, relapses and hopelessness that are coming on specific times once you reach a certain level and then you relapse? How can you support? What kind of support can you offer in that case? We have other professionals here, so there's Jessica, there's yourself, there's Dr. GP, and I will open the floor for everyone. But maybe we can start with those two, and then if you can also note the following two questions was, at what stage do you ask? We talked about asking someone, talking about suicide. At what stage should we ask those questions? And there was one question asking, why is it that people who seem so positive also seem to be the ones committing suicide? So maybe you can choose a couple, and then I'll send a couple to the others.
I will choose for John.
Yes.
very often mental illnesses, especially chronic ones, are associated with relapse. I'm afraid it is what it is. It is associated with relapse. So what to do is just to at the health facility, in the health facility, when we deal with chronic mental illnesses, we teach the patient through psychoeducation on the relapse and early warning sign of relapse. Because the relapse can be due to different reasons, including how you take psychotropic, how you take your drugs, but also there is a stressful event that come across the lifespan. You can also, there is also a drug resistance. So what we do is just to work on, to teach patients on the early warning signs, so that if someone who is taking drugs see the early warning sign, directly consult the therapist or the mental professional to explore, to investigate deeply on those signs. Maybe they can adjust the treatment, they can work on stressful event that he is experiencing. So those are the kind of action that you can take, because it's like other chronic, other NCDs, like hypertension, like diabetes. There's kind of lapse due to different, circumstances. But I understand him, because when you are sick, you need to get cured completely and stable completely. But for some diseases, the relapse will come. But as long as you are aware of early warning signs, there is hope to prevent it. Because many mental disorders, for early warning signs, there is kind of like sleep problems. So you tend to show kind of sign that you will say that probably there's something wrong, going on. So I need to consult directly the mental health professional. So that's what I can say. So maybe that can help. If they why is there? Does happiness cause depression?
Can happiness be a driver for suicide? Someone?
Yeah, for
yes.
suicide. I'm not sure, but we have seen in clinical settings the people who, for instance, who get married and they have the compensation. They have a mental crisis, why due to the event of marriage. But if I try to explain it, I think it is not the event in the real sense of getting married. No, I think it's stress around marriage event that come to add on the vulnerability of a person that end up being, having a crisis. So does happiness trigger the suicide? I'm not sure, but I think what surrounds happiness, the event that creates surrounding that. But for me, I'm not sure. But other health professionals will suffering with. But for me, I'm not sure happiness can trigger suicide.
Thank you. I see someone wanting to react.
Hello. My name is Maiva Basilia. I run a non-governmental and non-profit organization called Here to Share. It helps people dealing with mental health issues for free and anonymously by using social media platforms. And I wanted to answer to his question. He asked, can happiness lead to suicidal attempts? And I would say yes. I've worked with a person for 3 months. He's a young man that lost his child before birth. So after talking to him through all that time, he got better, way better than we expected. But then he got to a point where he was very happy. And then he was scared to feel the sadness again. So he said, rather than dying in the pain, I'd rather be this happy and then kill myself, take my own life when I'm happy and let everyone know that, I died happy. So that's when you know that happiness can actually lead to suicidal attempts. When he was still struggling, he has actually had the thoughts to take his own life, but never tried it because killing yourself, it takes a lot of power and energy, and it takes a lot of courage. It's not easy at all, but he always had hope that there was another way out. So that's why he never actually thought about that. But then when he got happy, he was scared because the pain was too much for him. He was scared to feel that again because you feel weak and hopeless. And then at that time he said, I want to die with this happiness, the happiness I have right now, than losing it again, feeling the sadness and the hurt and the pain all over again. So I would say yes, being happy can actually lead to suicidal attempts.
Thank you so much for your intervention. Jessica, behind, I think. I don't know if you...
Hi,
yes.
I wanted to thank everyone for sharing their thoughts and emotions and experiences on this event. And many of the ideas shared are so wonderful. And I wanted to agree that happiness and energy can actually be a precursor to attempting or completing suicide. And it speaks to a wounding deeper inside that someone's now has the ability to respond to. And so we need to take it very seriously. When someone shares a comment like that, we cannot, as everyone has been saying, right, we need to create that safe space to listen very closely, right, to those words and say, oh, this person's actually calling for help. But I could just ignore it. I could avoid the pain and the fear of listening to the words that they're saying. And I might just say, oh, but you're just so happy, right? And I might dismiss it. I might not want to really hear everything that they're saying and the suffering underneath of their words. So thank you so much for sharing that, that story and your story as well, so important. And I wanted to turn to you, Jean, and say thank you so much for sharing. And I agree so much with what Dr. Emmanuel said about how we all are different in our humanity and we have different struggles that we are burdened with. It could be high blood pressure. It could be a history of something different, right? And then we have to live with it and figure it out. And stigma is so pervasive that we don't see the stories of people who live with something like major depression or something like bipolar disorder or something like schizophrenia. And yet they are living amazing lives, right? With satisfying jobs and families and joy and hope. We don't see them because they're hiding, because they worry, what will someone think, right, if I say? So then we only see certain stories. So thank you so much for ending that so bravely in a big way tonight. I'm so, so grateful. Thank you. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I'm conscious of time. I think we could spend hours and hours listening and hearing questions. I would also echo the feelings of Jessica of being grateful for everyone's contribution and the panelists. Dr. GPN, did you want to say or add anything as well?
Yeah, thank you. Just a few things. The narrative of suicide the narrative of a suicide, we have this experience of having people speaking about suicide in a simple way, linear way, like a causation. This thing leads to this. There is one thing I will want to say no to, that we go home with that linear narrative, simple narrative of a suicide. This person experienced this and they killed themselves because of that. We don't know, and we never know. There's the only thing we can say can be some correlation between these variables, the experiences, and so many factors lead to suicide. And when we have that narrative, we make these experiences of suicide so simple that we don't get to understand the people who die by suicide. And that is that thing. So when we hear that this is experience, there are factors we don't know. And that is the single narrative we see in the media of this person killed themselves because of that. So we don't know, actually. So much we don't know. And the thing of someone being okay, looking okay, and then still kill themselves, was that the question?
Yes.
If you can state it for me, please.
The question was about why is it that people who seem very positive are the ones who seem to also commit suicide, something like that?
Yes, thank you. That's a very important question because especially today we are seeing so much things of gutwika, nagatwiko. Eh? And sometimes...
What is it for us who don't know?
Can someone translate it for me?
Gutwika.
Yes.
Gutwika today in this world is having fun, but it is subjective to your own. Gutwika is you're having fun in your own way, in an extreme way. You're having fun. Yes.
An example?
You're partying,
Oh.
not quit.
Okay.
You're eating good, not quit. Yes.
Yes. So there is a social expectations. What the society expects from us. That's how we want people to see us. They want to see us happy. And sometimes some people do say, you are killing my vibes. I want some positive vibes. So I'm giving you what you want. I'm trying to hide the real me and giving you just what you are looking for, what you expect from me. So with that, when we have that community, that cultural, that's whatever it is that makes us wanting to wear fake happy masks and with that smile, then we shouldn't be surprised when people kill themselves and you get, oh, wow, they seemed happy. Yeah, they seemed happy because they are just trying to react, to behave as you want to see them. Are we promoting, are we encouraging authenticity? Can I be myself? If I can't be myself, you will not be surprised. You will know that, yes. So sometimes those people, I know that there's people who, they feel easier in their brain-body system, feels more relaxed when they're in that situation of bereavement, when someone died, because they are like, the real face of them is there. Otherwise, if they look angry, they look not happy, people say, well, what happened to you? And they know that you are not asking that question for their best interest. You just sometimes you're like kind of, hey, you know that person? That's what is happening. So sometimes we put down masks so that you cannot ask us what is going on. Because we don't know how you are going to use that information. why are you asking that information? So if the people respond to what the society seems to expect from them. And I hope that with these conversations, by trying to be ourselves, then we can know that someone is struggling, even if they may look happy. And sometimes, I don't know if some of you, maybe you've never been there, when you have someone at a party, and actually they are at a party, they are partying, they are good quicker, but they really can't wait to get home and cry. And sometimes they say bye ahead, like after a few minutes, say bye, and they go home because they are really tired of that fake mask of happiness. Or sometimes they are partying and it happens that they isolate themselves and they pretend that they are responding to a phone. And actually, they're trying to be themselves. They are tired of that, of being fake for 30 minutes, for an hour. Or sometimes they go in the bathroom and they start to cry. So, there's so much we don't know. But what we know is that suicide is preventable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Alice wanted to react quickly.
A quick question, Dr. Dagishiman. Maybe to revert a little bit the question, is there that the people who look the most positive are the one who kill themselves, or is it the other way around? Because we have also to be to face the fact that there's a lot of information, quote unquote, out there, most particular in the internet, about how to cure that. So the journey through recognizing some vulnerabilities goes also through finding in the internet information about how to deal with that. Among other things, there's a strong belief, and we have really to try and look it up, the extent to which the consumption of certain drugs help you be high. So again, let's really look around us, not only being authenticity, seeking authenticity, but is it positivity, or is it what we want to see? You see, can we accept that people around us have maternity but have postpartum depression? If they are having successive pregnancies, that it can develop in severe depression, and this depression can give thought of suicide, etc. Do we know that as women, we always have this hormonal phase during the month where we feel totally down? If the studies have came across show that women who commit suicide commit them mostly around their period. So there's those people who suffer from thyroid, for example, who get those complications, but they don't want to look like they have mental health problems and so on. So I think we are really dealing with very, very complex situations that do not lend themselves easily to our simple gaze. And it's that's why, although you are doing a lot, continue to do much more, different segments. And I want quickly to share how my teacher of high school helped me. And John, I'm not answering your question per se, but I'm asking the question of coping mechanisms. Mr. Emmanuel spoke about identifying our vulnerabilities, but also how we can learn or develop some tools together with professionals or ourselves. I remember that day we moved in a place in Congo called Kolwezi, and I had my period and I was feeling really, really bad. So I called my father to come and pick me at school. And one of my teachers found me sitting. We were very close because he was also my drama for extracurricular teacher. So I could tell him what I would not tell the school. So he asked me, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I'm going home." You know? I said I was sick at school, but I said, "I'm just going home. I'm not feeling well." You know? And he took me in the office, lecturer's office. And he said, "Do you know why you are not feeling well?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "You know, you students, you are very funny. You come here and you give us a hell just because you don't feel good. Do you know how we feel?" I said, "I'm going to propose you something. And this is something that has helped me in my lower moments as a person, growing and having all the contradictions that young people at the time, I think at the time I was 16, and even in my life, I found one of the things that has helped me coping with difficult situations. He told me, whenever you feel you are happy, ask yourself, why am I happy? Whenever you feel you are down, ask yourself why you are down. You say, maybe it won't change much to that status, but you'll recognize that you're not feeling well and care about yourself. In addition, you'll know if it's something you can solve immediately in the medium term or in the longer term. So I tie it to something Banyarwanda say about gucumbikira ikibazo. You know, to shelve a problem. When you recognize, and it's about also embracing who you are, I've learned, and it has helped me a great deal, to recognize sometimes, you know, this is my problem at the moment, but I can't just solve it. And it's okay. You see? Because there's no perfect situation. So if you recognize that you have vulnerability, sometimes it depends on you, sometimes it depends on you and others and the environment. I always request, following my teacher, late teacher, Papa Raf, that I call Papa Raf, that I adopted. I always propose that we explore what is our passion. Like me, I love gardening. And for me, as somebody who came late in the country of my parents, that I was not born in, and who had to adapt, and who had to work with women who have survived sexual violence, telling you the worst stories of the humankind, gardening has become a healing tool for me. And Freya knows that I have 3/4 garden and 1/4 house. And working every day and look at my plant has become one of the medicine I can use to cope with contradictions and frustrations I feel sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hope everyone, if you don't mind.
There's someone who said they have a problem. They are depressed because of who they are.
Yes.
And I don't know if we talked to that. I just want to say that they can emphasize that they can seek help,
Yes.
and that it is not always. You may see someone else who actually have the same condition that you have, and they may not be as depressed as you are. So there are some, there's supportive resources to build your resilience to that problem. And I hope that you will have the courage and you will have the resources to get help. I also want to come back to the people who are likely happy and who are not, in terms of killing themselves by suicide. I don't want to say that there is not necessarily a known statistics about that, but only that the people can be surprised when people kill themselves and they looked happy. So they may feel like as if they're just, the numbers are high because they are surprised. Why for some other they feel like, oh, that's what we could expect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think I would like again to thank all the panelists. I think you've succeeded in unsimplifying the gaze on suicide, and also an unstigmatizing in the sense of inclusion of, I hope it created a sense of community. I hope it created a sense that we are not alone if we're dealing with something like that, that there are solutions or pieces of answers in each and every one of us, whether we're professionals or non-professionals. I really like to thank the public who were brave enough to give their testimonies and give their contributions. And I would like also to thank all the organizing team, again, the Kigali Public Library and MasterCard Foundation and the Solid Minds team to have contributed to this really lively and important discussion to have today. So without further ado, I think we're going to go back to our seats.
Excuse
Maybe
me,
a round of applause. Yes?
Just one comment from
Yes.
the line
Yes.
that I wanted to highlight. It's from Chantal from Solid Minds,
Yes.
to remind the audience that this whole month we have suicide prevention live Twitter chat on Twitter, and the topic for the coming Wednesday will be around suicide language. Some of it has been discussed here, so she's inviting all of us to continue the conversation over the chat. It's from 3 to 4 p.m. and you can use hashtag SolidMindsSPM22 to join the chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have, you've signed a paper. If you want to be connected with us, just give us your email addresses. On your way out, you will see pamphlets, including emergency numbers that you can reach out to, but also other resources that you can take home in French, English, or Kinyarwanda. Feel free to take the ones that you need or the ones that you want. I think let's get back to our seat, and it is, yes, a round of applause. So it is now our great honor to also welcome Madame Nancy from RBC, the Mental Health Department. She is our guest of honor today, and she will be giving us the closing word as the Director of Community Mental Health Unit at RBC. Thank you very much. After which we will have a final performance from Colin, but as you know, after the guest of honor, no one speaks, but we can sing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, wise people. Professor. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. Thank you, Emmanuel and Joanne. Thank you, organizer. I am really grateful for this time, for this platform created and set up by MasterCard and Solid Mind in collaboration with government representatives. Solid Mind worked a great job in this campaign and is planning to continue with us, with all stakeholders in mental health. I have many things to add on the discussion, but hopefully we will make many and more discussion around different platforms, and we will have a time to share, to discuss with young people, with parents, like they suggested and recommended, and mental health professionals. We should discuss about how we can empower mental health professionals, how we can contextualize mental health intervention, because you know we learned mental health intervention from outside, from abroad, intervention from abroad approaches. We have to contextualize and make them understandable in our culture, in our language, in our emotional language. I think it's not easy for Rwandan to talk and to make sure that someone will not destroy your, if I can say, your trust, your personal trust and background. I think we lose this trust with our background story, with our genocide against the Tutsi from 1994. We lost all those positive trust and culture beliefs that can help someone to believe and to trust, to make this relationship to be supported and to understand that he is supported and he is protected in good condition. So I will not come back, I don't need to come back to those shared data, shared experience. You are really a good people. You mental health professionals, colleagues, and Professor Alice who shared with us a good experience and intelligence and wise thoughts about mental health issues. I need to come back only about the good question asked by Professor Jean-Pierre around what we can do about what we can improve as mental health professionals to make sure that that Rwandans young people can access on mental health care services, on counseling services. I think one thing that we can know is that mental health is suffering from a big stigma, big burden of stigma and discrimination from top leaders, from top leadership to the community level, to the family level. It's a little big barrier of accessing to mental health services. So the prevention, awareness, raising awareness in mental health is one of the big part to improve mental health access to services. And I think we cannot say access to services only about our awareness. Inform people, inform young people, inform community about signs and symptoms. We should talk about also on mental well-being in terms of prevention. Create spaces in families, create spaces, safe spaces in schools, in different settings to make sure that we are avoiding, we are preventing this labeling stamp of mental disorders on psychiatric issues. This is psychiatric issue, this is a mental disorder, this is a very big, if I can say labor in mental health, this is a big barrier to access and to think about that you have a mental disorder. It's a big burden for someone who can access to mental health services. So let's talk about safe spaces, mental well-being. How can we ensure that we are creating spaces for young people at school in their fun activities, like they said, in their event of Gutwika, they talk each other, they can develop some techniques, some speeches which can empower them in peer support, which can raise awareness to them in order to know early if they have sign and symptom of mental issues, so they can seek anonymously in privacy condition mental health information and get some services in good condition and in privacy condition, if I can say this. And I will need to share with you, but in other platform, where we are as a country in terms of mental health services, in terms of good intervention. You said, Professor Alice, about community mental health intervention from community to referral system. And I think this will help also to know about there is a services. You can get services and develop more services online services. Use some toll-free numbers as you have one, I know, in Solid Mind. Develop some anonymous channels that can help to avoid the stigma surrounding mental issues, and make sure that parents, adult people are understanding that someone can seek, some family members can seek services, and show a good example of young people, to the young people, that even if you have a small issues, mental issue, you can go and seek. You can call a toll-free number and seek advice on, even if it's a small, it can be a mental disorder at the end, but feel free to use a service for a small issues, for a small challenge, and seek some information on coping mechanism in adolescent time, in youth condition, challenging condition. You can have a call-free number that you can call and have advice, have information. You know, I think those are prevention measures that we can develop in awareness condition, in prevention condition, to avoid this condition of suicide, and to prevent more than make mechanism to cure mental disorders. I am finishing. I need to really thank everybody here, young people, and encourage Solid Mind to keep contact, to keep this framework of young people, because they are ones who can help to emphasize, to sensitize, to contribute in awareness for you young people, and continue with this mindset. And I am really seeing in different countries where they have a good prevention program in mental health. They started from long time, and they are going slowly by using young people to change behavior. And what you need to know, for every society, there is no behavior change. It's not an event to change a society behavior. It's a process. It's not an event. So let's build this behavior and keep hands together to make sure that we are on board. And Professor Alice said that if you are serious on the matter, we are serious, and we are promising you that we are serious on the matter, and we will keep to be serious with the government, with the stakeholders, and partners on this matter. Thank you so much, everybody. God bless you.
All right. I think I'm not going to introduce myself again, but I want to say a small thing. I know no one speaks after the guest of honor, but if she allows me, I strongly believe that if you don't need to do something big to help a person in need with suicidal thoughts or depression, or you just have to be there. If you could spare only 1 minute of your day and ask a person, how are you? How are you? Obviously they will say, I am okay, but say, are you really okay? Like really, you know? All right, so the next song is a Micah Ihura song called I Just Want to Be There. So I hope you enjoy the song.
Won't be there for the heartless, the voiceless, the one that seemed to be speechless. I won't be there for the one with the flute that always dreams of the trumpet. I won't be there for the poverty within all society. I won't be there within the whole community and spread love to each other permanently. I just wanna say, dream on and sometimes let it be. Just wanna let you know, always love what you see. Yeah. I just wanna be there. 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 Yeah. I won't be there for the fallen trees. I won't be there for crying children's heart. I won't be there for everyone to see. I won't be there for every star. I won't be there for you and me. I won't be there for our destiny. I want to be there for every boy and girl to see. I won't be there for their dignity. I just want to say, dream on and sometimes let it be. Just wanna let you know, always love what you see. Yeah. I just wanna be there. I just wanna be there. I just wanna be there. I just wanna